West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. Watch this video. Hello, welcome to I'm Son. I hope you're all well. So yesterday, Arsenal went to the London Stadium to take on the mighty West Ham. We are massive, West Ham. But it ended up being a very tame affair. Well, tame in terms of performance from West Ham and a very kind of convincing performance from Arsenal. But there were lots of other issues surrounding it. Don't get me started on the referee's performance, because there were lots of decisions in that game. You think, what are you doing? Also, West Ham, they are not masters of any kind of tactics away from the actual game of football in terms of dark arts, in terms of time wasting, whereas Arsenal, they are the masters of it. Anytime there's a corner, they're slowing the pace down, they're strolling over to the corner flag, and the referee is never picking them up on it. Anytime there's a slightest touch, the player goes down, their fans are getting in on it. They think they come into the London Stadium, the West Ham Stadium, and they're saying to us as West Ham fans, you're only here to watch the Arsenal. I mean, how arrogant can you be? The fans have become arrogant. The players have become arrogant. The whole management team and coaching staff are all arrogant. But they're playing that game. They're playing that game that gets them winning matches. So it's the fault of teams that cannot match them for that. Now, you've got to match them on lots of different levels, and West Ham were failing at every single level. Anytime there was a decision by the referee that could have gone either way, Arsenal fans were swarming the referee, protesting, yeah, we deserve this, we are Arsenal, we deserve this. So I thought they were supposed to put an end to that. Only the captain can go up to the referee and protest, not the rest of the players. I thought any time that was happening, that would be a yellow card offence. What's going on here? Am I talking about referee corruption here? Am I talking about that something else is going on behind the scenes? I'm not going to go that far. I wouldn't want to get in trouble by any Arsenal fans, of course. But it's a little bit dodgy. But let's leave that aside. Let's just concentrate on the two teams and the two tactics involved. So West Ham came off a great win against Newcastle on Monday night. And lots of people were thinking, wow, we've turned the tide. This is a great performance. It was a great performance against a terribly performing Newcastle. So this is where I'm kind of thinking with West Ham now. Only get results or get decent performances against teams that are really underperforming, or against teams who just couldn't hit a barn door in the wind. Case in point, West Ham against Manchester United a few weeks ago when West Ham beat Man United. But do you know what? It should have gone the other way. It should have gone the other way. Or you get two teams that are so terrible against each other, West Ham against Everton, 0-0 drab affair. And then you end up saying, well, okay, that's a fair result. Two terrible teams. They kind of cancelled each other out. But if any team is worse than West Ham, then that's when West Ham seem to have any kind of success. If a team is just slightly better, or in Arsenal's case, a lot better, then all of a sudden, this is the result that we have. It was 6-0 last year. Now, lots of people forget, even the pundits, the football pundits, saying, oh, well, you lost 6-0 last season to Arsenal. Yeah, but we beat Arsenal twice in the preceding couple of months, once in the Cup and once in the league. At Arsenal, we beat Arsenal at Arsenal. So they're not unbeatable. They're not invincible. Okay, West Ham can beat them. Any team can beat any other team. It's just if you turn up on the day. West Ham didn't turn up on the day. In fact, most of the season haven't been turning up. They've been absolutely poor. The attacks have been absolutely rubbish. The substitutions absolutely terrible. But you've got a team in Arsenal that play decent football. Okay, when they want to play it, they play decent football. They're passing the ball around. They're making runs. They're making space for each other. They're working the triangles and all that kind of stuff. Whereas West Ham are static, not movement, no movement at all, no passes. I was actually counting the passes until they would lose possession. I got to 90% of the passes. After the second pass, we'd lose possession. The distribution from Fabianski in goal usually lost possession after one touch, even if it got to one of our players. So our actual game plan was absolutely terrible in offensive play, let alone defensive play. We weren't pressing, leaving them too much space to play. They were just running rings around us in midfield. We had no midfield. We had no sort of defensive setup, whereas they were just easy. It was easy to play through us. Then as soon as we got any kind of possession. If we got the ball, we didn't know what to do with it. We couldn't see any kind of opportunities. Wan-Bissaka was on the right hand side. He was open so many times when they could have been playing out the back, but no, decided to go via Emerson route and then lose possession quite quickly. And so, well, why don't you just look right? Look right. You know, there was lots of times in the game where I wanted to say, look, the goal is that way. Arsenal's goal is that way. Go that way. But no, there was none of that. So they got their first goal, got a second goal, got the third goal, got the fourth goal. Absolute spiral out of control. West Ham within 30 minutes. Lots of fans were leaving the stadium, and you can't blame them for that. Now, whether they're actually leaving the stadium or whether they're just leaving their seats to think, you know what, I'm just going to go and get a beer and just, you know, do something else. You know, it's better than watching this dross. And I got to say, for the very first time, I was very much inclined to do that myself. I always say right to the final whistle, because I want to hold the players to account. I always want to hold the players to account to say, look, I'm here as a fan to make sure you give it your all. And if you don't give it your all, I'm going to be on your case. And that's the problem here, that so many fans have become so sort of disillusioned with abject performances from West Ham, where you just don't even try, or there's no fight. And you're not even taking it to the other team. Nobody's saying that West Ham, unlike Arsenal fans, you know, we have a God-given right to beat everybody, and everybody who comes to London Stadium should bow before us, and, you know, we're going to give them a whipping. We're not that delusional. But what we do say is that, look, against any other better team, we should at least give them a challenge, put up a fight. Any team that is kind of in and around us, bottom half of the table, at least, you kind of think, do you know what? West Ham should be at least a minimum draw, but they should be eking out wins. So if we're not doing that against the lesser teams, in inverted commas, then against the bigger teams, when they come, you think, do you know what, we've got to raise our game. Like in the past, West Ham used to do that. We used to raise our game to the better teams. But we're not seeing that now. We're not giving them any kind of challenge here. So this is why you kind of having fans just leaving out, thinking, do you know, we can't be doing with this. And this is what's so infuriating when you get pundits, you know, on TV, you know, slating off West Ham fans for leaving. So you have no concept of what's going on. Yeah, pundits always love to tell you, oh yeah, I told you this result would go this way. They never tell you when they completely screw it up, when they get their punditry completely wrong, when they get their predictions completely wrong, do they? And this is the problem with West Ham right now. It's just that you don't have a game plan against any team. There's no consistency here, and the players are stuck in a kind of purgatory between a defensive setup and an offensive setup, and either way they just don't know which way to go. Coupled with the tactics that Lopetegui has tried to set up in this game, then with the substitutions, and this is probably the biggest indictment on Lopetegui for me, is that we're 5-2 down. 5-2 down. Arsenal were 4-0 up. Then there was a rallying cry, all of a sudden, out of the blue, from West Ham in the first half. We got 2 goals. Great goal from Wan-Bissaka, who's probably our best player, right? But all the players are pretty rubbish. Then a second goal, great free kick, fantastic free kick from Emerson. I was screaming at the West Ham players, get on their case. Arsenal are nervous. Get on their case. So there was an opportunity from that point on. The second goal went in. There was an opportunity to say, do you know what? We've just completely spiraled out of control and letting in 4 goals. But actually, this could easily happen to Arsenal if we kept up the pressure. Then they got that weak penalty, you know, with the shave of the head from Fabianski on their play, who went down like a sack of spuds. Then all of a sudden, the referee was so eager to blow for a penalty. Where we were right at the other end of the stadium, in all fairness, I thought it was just a player that was injured. I had no idea that it was a penalty. And then we could see they were setting up for a penalty, and they were like going, what, is this a penalty? We had no idea. None of us around us had no idea that this is going to be a penalty. They scored it. It was 5-2. And then it kind of limped into half time. So I think, right, okay, there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity here to regroup in the second half and just go at Arsenal. Go at them. Put them under pressure, high press, just close down the space, just look for those openings, look for those quick possession movements, look for those quick passes, get the wings, do everything you could to unsettle Arsenal. But there was absolutely zero of that. There was nothing of that. Arsenal just continued in their same way. In fact, in many ways, you could say they took their foot off the gas in terms of offensive play. They were just happy just to kill the game, using their dark arts tactics, just killing the game, slowing it down, just playing their game. West Ham had no reply. Then, indignity on top of indignity, Lopetegui then takes off our offensive players, some of our offensive players, and replaces them with defensive-minded players. And you think, what are you doing? What are you doing? Look, there is a call here to say that West Ham and Arsenal, there was no real structure there. Arsenal, you could say, yeah, maybe they were commanding the second half, so you needed somebody in midfield just to shore it up a little bit. And there is definitely a call for that. And I'm not saying that tactics on that regard are wrong. But what I'm saying, the tactics on that regard, when you're 5-2 down and you should be chasing the game, that's all wrong. Because if you lose 6-2, if you lose 7-2, it doesn't really make much difference at this point. You're losing the game. You got no chance of getting into the game. And I'm not talking about 10 minutes to go or 5 minutes to go, and then you make those tactical substitutions. You think, you know what, let's just not make this a cricket score. Let's just leave it at a 5-2. I'm talking, relatively early on in the second half, halfway through the second half. There's still a long way to go in that half to get goals, to even try and come back at Arsenal, to put that bit of pressure on them, to sow that seed of doubt in their players and Arteta and their coaching staff, to think, oh, West Ham are coming back here. But there was none of that. So for me, I've said this all along, Lopetegui needs to go. There's nothing right here in West Ham. The players are all over the place. They're not really playing for each other. And I'm convinced the only time that West Ham are going to beat another team is if they're having a really bad day. If West Ham come up against any team who are playing their standard kind of football or having a decent day, they're going to lose. And if they come up against a really decent team, then they're going to get absolutely spanked. So what does this mean for the future of West Ham? Well, I can say much of the same. We've already lost an opportunity before the international break to change our manager. We've lost that opportunity. So this is bad club management right from the very core. As West Ham fans, we already know that. Lopetegui is just not clued in enough on what the fans want, but also what the players need to do to achieve any kind of success on the pitch. You can't have game after game of just poor performances and maybe just rely on one good performance against a team that's totally underperforming to think, do you know what? Oh, we might have a little glimmer of hope here. No. You've got 3 games now, which you really shouldn't have the opportunity to manage those 3 games. 3 games to kind of save your job. But even if you get results in those 3 games, it will revert back to the status quo in that it's going to be a poor season for West Ham. It's not an entertaining game. It's nothing to watch. In fact, it's infuriating to watch. And this is why you get fans kind of not happy with each other. Some fans are having a go at other fans saying, well, you're not cheering enough, or you're not singing enough, or you're not moaning enough, or you're not, you're not doing enough in whatever it is. And it's just not a good look. Everybody's frustrated. Everybody's pissed off. Layer on to all the fans that are going there just to watch a game. The old tourist fans are there. And there's half and half skulls. The problem is, when you've got a display like that for West Ham, it is absolutely a disgrace, absolute disgrace to see people in half and half scarves for me. And let alone tourist fans who are just, they're laughing amongst West Ham fans when you're 5-2 down. And you're like going, what the fuck are you doing here? What are you doing here if you're acting like that? They have no comprehension what their actions have on the rest of the people around them, let alone Arsenal fans getting in amongst West Ham fans and then start cheering and shouting as if, oh, nothing's going to happen to them. No, that's why you get a slap, because you're being a complete moron. And the problem is, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for anybody for any home team to perform like that, to get embarrassed like that. And it just sends a bad vibe around everywhere. And for me, West Ham have to do so much better going forward. Arsenal, for their part, they just need to keep on with doing what they're doing. Whether it's the dark arts, it's so frustrating for an opposition fan to see it, But when you see it, you really see it, right? You really see what's happening with Arsenal, the way they're going down, the way they're slowing the game down, the way they're playing to their pace, the way their fans are acting. You know, everything around Arsenal, it's almost like, okay, this is the Man United of old, this is the Liverpool of old, this is, you know, where successful teams, they start having this arrogance around them, you know, this kind of mental thing over other teams. And this is why you kind of think, oh, I really don't like this team. I really don't like this set of supporters, you know, that kind of thing. But it's not really about them. It's about our team, whichever team you support, it's your team, how you match up against them. And it's our responsibility as a fan base, but our responsibility as a club to not let those kinds of teams get away with it. And the only way you do it is that you take it to them and you don't let them score 5 past you, you know, at a home game. You don't let them score 4 in 30 minutes and you completely dissolve in front of their eyes. And you certainly don't take off any of your offensive players in the second half when you're trying to get back on level terms, if you ever could. You're 5-2 down and you're taking off your attacking players. What is going on? What is the thinking here? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, just keep on watching the videos. If you're an Arsenal fan, don't watch any of my videos. And I'll catch you again. Bye now.